It's 4:34 on ESPN East Texas from Radio Row at Super Bowl 49 in Phoenix, which also happens to be home territory for our guest here live on Radio Row, former Cowboys quarterback Danny White. You didn't have far to go today, did you?
About 20 miles.
Okay.
And the first 19 it's like my golf game. You know, the first 320 yards is easy. It's that last 30 that kills. Well, getting down here, the first 19 miles was easy, and it took me 30 minutes to go that last mile and find the right parking garage. This is crazy. I was telling Michelle, our producer, that I had no idea, and I haven't been to a Super Bowl and didn't go, when I played unless we were playing in it. I've never seen this before, and this is just unbelievable to me, the kind of attention that a stupid little football game gets, and I think every player ought to be taken on a tour through here to see how big a deal it is, because the players have no idea.
You think so?
I don't think they have any clue what a big deal this is.
Danny White, of course, in addition to his, he's done many things since retiring from the Cowboys, but one of his part-time jobs, if you will, he is the color analyst for Compass Radio Network's Dallas Cowboys coverage. It's the national radio network.
Right.
You've got Brad and the group here in Texas, but
right.
Danny does Cowboys football all year long. You and I talked not that many months ago. I didn't see 12-4, Danny. Did you?
Well, I saw a lot of these dummies predicting 7 and 9, and
I was one of the dummies, Danny.
Yeah, I knew for sure they were going to be 8 and 8. I just knew it.
Okay.
No, I don't know of anybody that picked them anything more than 9 and 7, and to win the division and win a playoff game. I don't know of anybody that predicted that, and so I think when the dust settles, this is going to be looked back on as a very positive step for the Cowboys.
Why was Romo better? Why were they better?
Well, those 5 guys up front. I mean, you don't have to go any further than that. I'm telling you, they did a great job. Rod Marinelli did a great job with those 7 or 8 guys in the defensive line of mixing and matching and keeping them fresh. Bunch of no-name guys. I mean, that was probably the second headline of this. But the offensive line, to me, absolutely turned this team around, and they were so good. And it's a little thing, and you have to kind of know the game to understand it. But DeMarco Murray this year, when he would run that stretch play and he's looking for a hole, all he saw was arms instead of bodies. Now, that makes a big difference.
I see
for a
what
running
you're
back.
saying, yeah.
You can run through, especially a guy like DeMarco Murray can run through an arm tackle. But when you got a body standing there in the hole, it just deflates you, man. I mean, I shouldn't use the word deflate these days.
That's a bad term around
word.
here right now.
But can you imagine? I mean, running into a hole and seeing a body of a defensive lineman. This year, those guys did such a great job moving their feet, and they're 3 of them are number 1 draft choices, and that's why. It's because of their footwork. It's not because how big they are and how strong they are, how much they can bench press. It's because of their footwork, and they lock onto a guy, and they move their feet so that all DeMarco sees his arms sticking out trying to attack, and he can run right through that. And that one little fact, I guess, to me, completely transformed this Dallas Cowboys football team. Now Tony Romo's got a running game. It's not all on his shoulders. Des Bryant, those guys, when they need to make plays, they made them. But they didn't have to carry the team. And then the defense played well enough. They didn't put up a lot of great stats. They didn't have DeMarcus Ware rushing the passer, but they played well enough for the offense to win games. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And I had that the first few years of my career.
You had Dorsett.
I had Dorsett and I had Doomsday, right? Tony hadn't had that until now. He's finally figuring out what it's like and how much fun it can be to play quarterback in this league when you've got a running game and you've got a great defense.
Speaking of Tony, there may not be anybody on the planet more able to empathize with him than you. Cowboy quarterbacks are everybody's favorite whipping boy or hero, right? And Tony has had that, and you definitely had that. You had your great moments, and like any quarterback, you had your down moments. You can empathize with him, can't you?
Well, the Cowboy fans' expectations are a little different now than they were, in the 80s, coming off of those Super Bowls in the 70s.
And you had a tough act to follow.
Well, I had I had a pretty tough act to follow. I mean,
Only a Hall of
no
Famer.
big deal, yeah. I wouldn't have had it any other way. I learned so much from Roger.
Right.
It was unbelievable. But, in the 5 seasons, and that's really all I played as the starting quarterback, start the season and end the season as the starting quarterback. In those 5 seasons, we played in 10 playoff games.
And 3 NFC titles.
And 3 NFC championship games. I don't know that's anybody could match that, and that's not something I'm ashamed of. That's not something that I'm not proud of, believe me. Now, we didn't quite get there and win the Super Bowl as a starter, but, one year in '84 was kind of taken away from me and given to Hogaboom, and '86 we were on track to break all the offensive records with Herschel Walker and Tony Dorsett in the backfield, and I broke my wrist in the 9th game. And so, but the 5 other years, we went to the playoffs and did well in the playoffs. We just didn't win the Super Bowl, and so I don't have any regrets.
You don't
They
ever
were
wonder.
great years, and
Don't ever ask yourself and think what might have been, what almost
what
was.
might have been. But people say, well, if it wasn't for the catch, if it wasn't for the catch, well, it wasn't the catch. It was the tackle. It was Eric Wright with one finger getting Drew by the back of the jersey.
We were talking about that earlier today. It was Eric Wright on Drew.
Eric Wright.
You had him at midfield, and he was off, right? He was gone.
Caught that ball in full stride, and that was what Drew was so good at, was adjusting his speed. It's a little thing again, but not many receivers can do that. They just run, and if the ball's behind them, they reach back and try to make. Drew would control his speed so that the pass looked like a perfect pass every time. And he caught that ball in the seam in full stride. And if Eric Wright had been a horse collar tackle today, probably,
Right.
15-yard penalty, kick a field goal, and win the game.
And win the game. And go beat the Bengals in the Super
And then
Bowl.
go beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Exactly. You got it all down.
Right.
Well, if it wasn't for that, because the next play, at that point in the game as a quarterback, you got to sell out. You got to, we need 10 more yards for a first down. And I sold out on a sideline to Dorsett and got halfway through the motion and saw the safety coming and changed my mind. I get hit and fumble the ball, and that was it. So if Drew breaks that tackle or Eric Wright doesn't make the tackle, what would the catch be? Just another catch.
Right.
And it's funny that, Bill, when you look at the great plays in the history of the NFL, the Immaculate Reception, the Hail Mary, the catch, they're all busted plays. None of them were by design. And so a lot of it has to do with the football gods smiling on you and getting the breaks. And there were 3 plays there, the catch, the tackle, and the fumble, that all went the favor of the 49ers, and that was a difference in the game.
Some have called you the most, underappreciated Cowboys quarterback ever. Do you ever think about that kind of stuff? I mean, given all that went on, does that come?
For a skinny baseball player from Mesa, Arizona, to have been the quarterback for America's team and playing some Super Bowls, I'm not going to spend 1 minute of my time feeling like I was underappreciated. I got a lot of great breaks. Played with a lot of great players and great coaches, and couldn't have been any better.
This game this week, the numbers now are so eye-popping. Everything's so different now with the passing game. They're just, it's almost, the numbers are almost skewed now, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, but I don't think the passing game is going to be the difference in this one. I think most Super Bowls are won by the teams that control the line of scrimmage. And for that reason, I think the running game and the defense goes to Seattle. I don't think the Patriots have anybody like Marshawn Lynch. I don't think they have anybody like Cam Chancellor. I think those 2 guys are going to be the difference in this game.
It's you made an interesting point earlier about you don't think the current players, you didn't have any idea on Super Bowls. People forget you played on a Super Bowl winner in 12 and the losing team in Super Bowl 13, but you've got a Super Bowl ring. You don't think the current players have any idea really how big this game is? A lot of them.
We had media day out on the field after practice. The reporters came out and they, it's not even close. And I don't think they have the first clue how big this is. Ask this guy. Now it was bigger, a lot bigger for him,
Jay?
than it was for me. But look how big it is now compared to when he played in it, and I'll bet you get the same answer from him.
Kevin Arden, we're going to go over just a tad on this segment because Cowboys tight end Jay Novacek has stopped by. Now, you guys weren't teammates, but you would have taken this guy, wouldn't you?
Oh, man. Well, you know what? He reminds me so much of Doug Cosby. You know, same kind of size, same kind of guy, same kind of quiet guy. You know, not real flashy. And Jay's the same kind of guy. But I'd have taken him in a heartbeat.
University of Wyoming, Jay Novacek. Hey, Jay, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing awesome. What are you guys up to?
We're doing great. What does it feel like to be here? I mean, looking back, I mean, I was my first Super Bowl was your last, Super Bowl 30, just down the road in Danny's old home stadium at Sun Devil Stadium.
Great field. Love that field.
Love that field. You caught a touchdown pass in that game. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was there.
And when Cardinals moved here, I was with that team at that time. So I played on that turf quite a bit.
Not a lot of room on the sidelines there, is there?
No.
You got about 2 strides, and you're flipping over a fence down into the walkway down.
Yeah.
You guys represent 4 of Dallas's 5 Super Bowl championships between the 2 of you. You look back on the Cowboys' history and being a part of that 3 out of 4. What was that like? Yeah, as you reflect on it now, nearly 20 years later.
You know, when you're doing it at the time, it was a blessing. We didn't realize how good we were, and which is good because we knew we had to come back and play even harder the next year because everyone's gunning for you. And I think if we really stopped and looked back and reflected and said, you know, we're all right, we're good, then we wouldn't have been able to do that. So it was an amazing run, and it was such a blessing to be able to play on that team with all them great players.
What impressed you? Danny and I've talked about what impressed him about this year's group. What do you think about this year's group?
You know, one of the things that impressed me more than anything was how hard they worked at training camp. Their tempo was so much quicker, so much faster, and it just made them guys focus more. And then once they started realizing that, you know, we are a good team, they start really playing well as a team. And you could see with the mistakes that they would make, they could overcome them, where before they could never do that.
All right, both of you, Dan, and I'll wrap it up this way, and I appreciate, Danny, giving me so much time. And, Jay, thank you for sitting down. I could talk to you for 20 minutes, and I know you've got plenty going. But is this sustainable? Does it look to you, Danny, like the Cowboys, because they had a year like this in 2009 and then fell flat on their face in 2010 and Wade Phillips got fired? Does this look like the kind of thing that's sustainable now for the Cowboys?
Yeah, this one ended with some controversy. I mean, one thing about, broadcasting the Cowboys games, they may not be the best team in the league. They're not the worst team in the league, but there isn't any team in the league that has as much drama surrounding it as this team. And that, as a media guy, and I'm still making that transition. I'm not sure if I'll ever make it completely, but what a difference. But what a difference in a positive year and all the years leading up to this year for us, those on the periphery and on the sidelines of the game. This has just been a great year, and it ended, in my opinion, on a very positive note and something I think for this team to build on.
Jay, why should Cowboy fans be optimistic about next year? What do you think?
Well, I think if you look at the last 4 years, 3-4 years, you look at the years that they were 8-8, they had tons of injuries. Last year they didn't, and I think that it was all a build-up to this year. I thought that if they could stay healthy and start playing as a team and understand how to win games as opposed to how to lose games, that they were going to have a good year. And that's kind of what happened. Was the injury factor was down, and that's the kind of team that they've had in the past, but just with that bad luck with injuries. I think next year, if they stay healthy, I see this team doing the same thing. I don't see any slowdown from Tony Romo. I know that age and people are thinking about that, and there is a concern, but he's just as good now as he's ever been and making better decisions. And you go right down the list, and with the offensive line, I think their defense is going to get better next year.
I'm honored that you guys stopped by.
Well, it's going to get better with just getting Sean Lee back.
Yeah.
And then get 1 or 2 more guys, impact players over there, and if they can keep the offense together, that's the other, get everybody signed that needs to get signed. But
great having you, and then a
Yeah.
bonus to get Jay. I really appreciate you guys. You didn't ask for this, Jay. We just kind of drafted you in here.
I never asked for an interview, ever.
We sort of drafted you, but I do appreciate you not throwing something at me, okay?
If you need to be longer, holler.
Well, well, if you don't mind sticking
I can
around, that'd
stick
be
around.
great. It's 4:49. Danny, I know
Okay,
you've got
Bill.
a bunch of people that want to talk to you.
Yeah,
Break
talk to
time
you.
here, and again, we've gone a little bit over on this section.